The average World War II tank crew lasted 6 weeks. Some didn't last 6 minutes. You're 18 years old. You just climbed inside 30 tons of steel, 5 men, 1 engine, dozens of shells, and no guarantee you're getting out. Let's see how long you survive. For many, the journey began with a poster. Images of powerful tanks crushing enemy lines promised adventure and a chance to be at the forefront of the fight. The appeal was undeniable. Compared to the mud-soaked trenches of the First World War, mechanized warfare seemed clean, modern, and even glamorous. Recruiters painted a picture of being part of an elite, tight-knit team, a band of brothers operating the most advanced technology on the battlefield. For young men from farms and cities, many of whom had never driven a car, the chance to command a 30-ton steel beast was an irresistible call to duty and excitement. Once enlisted, the real work began. Training was intense and multifaceted. First came the basics: learning to drive. Maneuvering a massive, clunky machine like a Sherman or a Panzer was nothing like driving a family car. It required brute strength and a delicate touch to navigate rough terrain without throwing a track. Then came gunnery practice. Gunners had to master the complex mechanics of the main cannon and machine guns, learning to calculate range, laid moving targets, and reload under immense pressure. Loaders drilled endlessly, aiming to shave precious seconds off their reload times, knowing that a faster second shot could be the difference between life and death. Radio operators learned Morse code and complex communication protocols, becoming the tank's vital link to the outside world. And finally, the tank commander, the leader of this small crew, had to learn it all. He needed to be a strategist, a navigator, a motivator, and a calm voice in the heart of chaos, directing his crew while keeping an eye on the entire battlefield. They trained in mock-ups and then in real tanks, practicing formations, maintenance, and emergency drills until every action became second nature. The goal was to transform 5 individuals into a single, cohesive fighting unit, where each man trusted the others with his life. Daily life on the front lines was a grueling routine of maintenance and waiting. Long before any battle, the crew's day started with the tank itself. They had to refuel, rearm, check the engine, clean the gun barrel, and tighten the tracks. A single loose bolt or a clogged filter could disable the tank at the worst possible moment. This constant maintenance fostered an intimate bond between the men and their machine. They knew its every groan, its every rattle. They gave their tanks names like Betty or Fury, treating them not just as weapons, but as their home and protector. When they weren't working on the tank, they were waiting. Hours, sometimes days, were spent in holding patterns, the tension slowly building. They'd read letters from home, play cards, share stories, and try to forget what was likely coming. Food was often cold C rations or K rations, and sleep was snatched in shifts, either inside the cramped, uncomfortable hull or under a tarpaulin next to it. It was a life of extreme boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. And when the order to advance came, everything changed. The hatches were sealed, the engine roared to life, and the world shrank to the confines of their steel box. The commander, often with his head exposed to get a better view, would guide the driver and gunner. Inside, it was a sensory overload. The noise was deafening. The engine's roar, the clatter of the tracks, the crackle of the radio, and the commander shouted orders. The gunner would be glued to his periscope, scanning for targets. The loader stood ready, a heavy shell in his hands. The first sign of contact was often the terrifying crack of an anti-tank gun. The sound of a shell hitting the hull was described as a massive, deafening bell being struck right next to your ear. A non-penetrating hit could still send lethal shards of metal called spalling flying around the interior. A direct penetration was catastrophic. The superheated jet of molten metal could ignite fuel and ammunition, turning the tank into an inferno in seconds. The crew's biggest fear was fire. Getting out of a burning tank through its narrow hatches, often while under enemy fire, was a nightmare scenario. This constant threat took a heavy psychological toll. The men lived with a unique kind of claustrophobia, trapped in a metal coffin that could become their tomb at any moment. They saw things no one should ever have to see. They lost friends, crewmates who had become as close as family. The bond forged in the crucible of combat was incredibly strong. When a tank was knocked out, the survivors from other crews felt the loss deeply. This shared experience of vulnerability and survival created a brotherhood that lasted a lifetime. But it wasn't just the fear of death, it was the responsibility. A gunner knew that a missed shot could mean the end for his crew. You're getting close, you start wondering, are you above average or exactly average? Week 6. The day you wake up tired, not physically, mentally. You've survived 5 weeks. That makes you experienced. It also makes you visible. Experienced crews get sent forward because they know what they're doing. Today you're pushing through a small village. Narrow roads, stone walls, perfect ambush territory. Your commander says, "Stay sharp." You already are. The hit, it happens fast. A flash from a second-floor window. You don't even see the soldier, just the smoke trail. Impact. This time it's different. The sound isn't a metallic crack, it's a violent punch. Then heat, immediate heat. The round penetrates the side armor. Inside the tank, metal fragments explode outward. Spalling, your loader screams. Fuel ignites. The compartment fills with flame in seconds. The escape. You reach for the hatch. It's jammed. The turret is slightly twisted from impact. The driver tries to open his. Smoke, thick, black. Breathing becomes painful. You hear ammunition cooking off. Each shell popping like thunder inside a coffin. Someone shouts your name. You can't see who. You manage to push the hatch open halfway. Fresh air hits your face. For 1 second, you think you made it. The statistic. Then the second explosion hits. Internal ammunition detonates. The blast throws the turret upward. Outside infantry dive to the ground. When the smoke clears, your tank isn't moving. It's just another burned-out hull on the roadside. Blackened steel, open hatch, silent. The average World War II tank crew lasted 6 weeks. You lasted 6 weeks. Exactly average. Final narration. War doesn't care about bravery. It doesn't care about training. It doesn't care about how close you were to surviving. It only cares about probability. And probability caught up. You were 18 years old. You never became 19. Somewhere, a letter is delivered. Somewhere, your tank is written off. Somewhere, history moves forward. Without you, they called it a steel coffin. Not because it always killed you, but because eventually, it usually did. Final line, strong closing. When you fight inside 30 tons of steel, you're not asking if you'll be hit. You're asking when, and for you, it was week 6. A driver knew a wrong turn could lead them into an ambush. This immense pressure, combined with the horrors they witnessed, left deep, invisible scars. Many veterans suffered from what we now call PTSD, struggling with nightmares, anxiety, and the memories of the friends they lost. They were hailed as heroes, but they carried the weight of the war with them long after the guns fell silent.